Welcome back to the Middle of Culture. I am one of your co-hosts, Peter.
And I am your broken-hearted other co-host, Eden.
Eden, I'm sorry you're brokenhearted. How's it going, other than the broken heart?
I'll get to it. I'll get to it when we talk about pop culture stuff we've been indulging in, because boy, do I have a tale for you.
Ooh.
But other than that, I'm doing okay. I'm not actually brokenhearted, but I was crying a lot the other day.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but I look forward to hearing about that. Yeah, how you been doing? You were just telling me before we hit record that it's going to be hotter than the devil's rectum out there this weekend.
Yeah, apparently we have that creatively named meteorological phenomenon known as a heat dome developing over our part of the country here. So it is going to be an actual temperature of like 95, but a real feel of about 110. That's just terrible. In time for all of the Pride festivities on Saturday. Luckily, I have to be at work in an air-conditioned building most of that day, but I bet that poor air conditioner there, just like we were joking earlier, my air conditioner is running overtime right now. I bet it will be at the comic shop too.
Yeah, no, that just sounds terrible. I do not like that for you, and I am sorry.
It ain't fun, it ain't good, but oh well. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging alone this weekend. My wife and youngest are in Missoula, Montana for a swim meet. And as our weather is a little different. So when the text chain got started for all the parents of the kids who were going to the Missoula meet, they sent out, it was an interesting request. They said, hey, who can bring fans, misters, and heaters? Because it's a 4-day outside.
Just in case.
Well, it's a 4-day outside event. And so today and tomorrow, it's going to be about 92. So they want the fans and the misters. And then it's going to drop, and the high on Saturday and Sunday is supposed to be up in Montana right around 60 with about a 70% chance of rain.
Jesus, that sounds lovely.
It does sound lovely, but I do feel bad for these kids that are going to be hanging outside trying to, go from standing in front of the misters and trying to stay cool during the swim meet on tomorrow to all of a sudden now they're trying to stay warm so that their muscles are nice and ready to go. But,
Yeah, it's not going to be fun, but oh well. What are you going to do?
Here's the thing I have learned, and I did not appreciate this, and most people I realize don't appreciate this. But who are really, really hardcore people? Swimmers. Swimmers are
that does not surprise
hardcore.
me even a little bit.
I mean,
I've seen those freaks in the Olympics. Those guys know what they're doing.
Oh my gosh. So people will ask me all the time. They're like, "Oh, so is Gareth done with swim?" And I just laugh. I'm like, there is no done with swim.
You're never done. It's always.
He literally has 1 week off a year. So he'll swim, and then he'll do summer champs on the 20th, which will end on like the 20th of July. Then he will have 1 week off before he goes to senior zones in California. And then he will come back from that and will start high school swim. And high school swim he will probably go to state. He's qualified for state the last 2 years. And he's getting faster, so I'm sure he'll make it to state. So he'll go to the state swim meet the first weekend in November, swim Friday, Saturday. Monday, he'll start club swim again.
Jesus.
So these kids are hardcore.
Dedication.
They are. And it's
you
been a ton
You got to give them props.
I mean, there's this group of kids that he's been swimming with for quite a few years who they work hard, they care a lot, and they take it really serious. And it's fun to see these teenage boys like choosing to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go swim before school and then go and swim after school. And then he comes home some days, and if his homework's done, he eats, and then he goes to the gym that night and stuff like that. So it's kind of inspiring to see these. Again, I was not that motivated when I was 15, 16, I don't believe. And
I don't think I've ever been that motivated in my ding dang life about anything.
Right. So yeah, no, it's fun, but yeah, they're going to have an interesting weekend, and I'll look forward to hearing how he does. But he had a meet a couple weeks ago, which was the one where he got his 100 free time that qualified him to go to senior zones, and they get to swim a bunch of other things. It's not just that event. It's just you need an event with a qualifying time. and then you get invited to go to zones. And so it's basically, it is a meet for the entire Western United States.
Jeez, that's big.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. But what you been checking out? Anything interesting lately?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, sobbing tears, tears of sobs. So anyway, where should I start? I don't want to start there. That's like an apex. That's the climax. You get to that at the very end. Not a whole lot. I've been continuing to read the Apothecary Diaries, which I believe I mentioned last episode.
Yep.
I am in the epilogue of book 5 right now. It remains delightful. I do think it's really interesting that, and I wonder what's going to happen here, because it feels like with each subsequent volume, the world that it inhabits seems to get larger, and the cast of characters seems to get larger. Book 5 is the first time they've had like a dramatis persona at the front of the book to be like, hey, do you remember who all these people are? And which, you know, I did, because I read book 4 literally 2 minutes before starting book 5, because I was laying in bed at 4:45 in the morning because I couldn't get to sleep, and finish book 4 and then hit book 5. The beauty of e-readers. True. But it's just getting really complicated, and books 1 through 4 really felt like an arc, and then book 5 felt like a new status quo setting book. And so I wonder if that's also going to be like a larger arc of a few books before there is a new status quo. I don't know. I'm curious. I'm still really enjoying it. It's still one of the better novels I've read recently. I liked it so much that when Cassie and I went on our trip to the sharpening, which I mentioned last episode, I believe.
Yep.
We actually, was it before or after the sharpening? Oh, it was the night after. It was right after we got back from the sharpening. So I did mention it. Actually, she drove a lot of it. I usually am the one who's driving, but she drove a lot of it because she wanted me to read the book aloud to her. So I read book 1 aloud to her as she was driving. And then we've kind of used it as like a bedtime thing. We go to bed and then I read to her until she falls asleep. And so we just recently started book 2, the two of us. And that speaks to how much I enjoy this book series, to have read it myself a week ago and then a week later be like, hey, I'm going to read this book to you. So It was really good. I really liked it. But the thing I have to mention, and I don't really have anything else. There's no new music. I haven't played any new video games because they don't put out video games I want to play anymore, apparently. I haven't seen any movies. Like, life's been pretty slow. But what I have done is I've continued reading Adachi and Shimamura. It's time for the Adachi and Shimamura check-in, folks. And boy, is it a lot. So, I mentioned we're up through book, I think 10 or 11 is what I mentioned last time we chatted, because I think I finished 11. I was taking a break to read Apothecary Diaries. A week and a half ago, the next volume came out. It is called Adachi and Shimamura 99.9.
Okay.
And you're thinking to yourself, okay. And I think I explained last time that like books 1 through 8 were like the series, and then 9 onward has been like him playing in the author playing in the space, doing a lot more stuff with temporality, jumping forward and flash forwards, flashbacks, all that sort of stuff, right?
Right. Yeah.
So this book is called Adachi and Shimamura 99.9. I open it up and I can really categorize it into 3 distinct chunks.
Okay.
Chunk 1, and like they're interspersed, but like 50% of this book is typical Adachi and Shimamura stories. It's them going to a hot springs together for the first time, and like the complications of Shimamura being like, oh no, I think my girlfriend probably wants to have sex, and I don't know how that works, and I want to, but I don't know how, and she wants to, and I don't think she knows. Like, fun, like, oh, people who are in love for the first time, how do you figure this all out? Very, like, still chaste in its portrayal on the page. This is kind of veiled stuff, but like, okay, that's fun, that's cute. They're 18, they're going on a trip together. One of the stories is Adachi's Shimamura's 20th birthday. So she's walking around town, doesn't really have anything to do for her birthday, runs into one of their friends from high school who she's like, I'm almost finished with college. As soon as I finish college, me and Adachi are moving to another city far away. I might never see this person again. And this person invites her over for like tea and to hang out. So she goes and spends time with her friend. And she's, it's a little wistful because it's like, I don't know that I'll ever see this person again. Because like our lives are just going to different places, all that sort of stuff. Another story. Oh, Adachi and Shimamura, they're 28. Adachi's been working late because she's working on a project at work. So Shimamura is having to make dinner for like the 8th or 9th night in a row. And she's like, I don't know what to make anymore. Like, extremely quotidian. This is stuff that you and I have dealt with where it's like, I need to make dinner. I don't want to make dinner.
Yeah.
What have I got in the fridge? You know, Yashiro, the weird alien girl that I've mentioned, shows up and is like, oh, you should make udon. And then she's like, yeah, I don't really want to make. And then she's like, oh, I'll make fried rice. Extremely quotidian, extremely normal. The alien girl. This is when these flash forwards is when it's like definitively confirmed this girl's got to be an alien or something, because Yashiro has not aged a day, even though everyone else has aged,
sure,
you know, to adulthood now. So that's like 50% of the book. Super simple. Normal stories, heartwarming, quiet, slice of life, quotidian, great. Okay, so that's 50% of the book. Quotidian, sweet, great. 25% of the book. It's 3,700 years in the future.
Okay.
On a post-apocalyptic planet that had clearly been colonized by Earthlings but was now dead, there is one person remaining on it, a young woman named Chito. This is a weird post-apocalyptic world where literally everyone is dead. Someone raised Chito. There was some sort of adult figure that raised her, but that person has died years ago, and Chito has just been traveling by herself alone ever since. Also, time has stopped on this world. It is literally always sunset. It's never gotten lighter. It's never gotten darker. It's always sunset. There's like no animals. There's just plant life. And then one day, out of nowhere, a blue thing rockets down from the heavens, and it's Yashiro, the weird alien girl who's been peppered throughout the Adachi and Shimamura books. She shows up, starts talking to Chito, and she's like, oh, I'm here to, you know, travel with you for a while. And so those two now spend the next year traveling across this desolate, empty, post-apocalyptic planet, like scavenging for food, trying to find bikes so that they can travel more easily that still work, all this sort of stuff. Eventually, they are led to a place where they meet the only other person who is alive on this dead planet, a young woman named Shima. And so Chito and Shima meet. Yashiro is like, hey, this is what I was here for. Y'all got together. Y'all met. Bye. And rockets back off into space, leaving these two young women alone on this dead planet. And so they start talking to each other. They start building this tentative friendship between them. And then after a few days of being together, time starts again. The sun sets for the first time in either of their lives. And so one of them is like, I heard about this from the people that raised me. It's called night, but they said it just didn't happen anymore. And so these two girls like cling to each other as the sky goes dark for the first time in either of their lives.
Wow.
And that is where their story is left. There are two girls alive on this planet, and they just became friends, I guess. Question mark?
Huh.
So that's 75% of the book between those two chunks. The other 25% of the book. Shimamura is 87 years old. Adachi is dead. Her parents are dead. Her younger sister is dead. Everyone she knows, dead. She's an old woman. She's like, why am I even alive anymore? Like, this fucking sucks. I would like to die. This sucks. Everyone I know is dead. She sometimes sees Adachi, like she thinks it's a hallucination. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but she sometimes sees and converses with Adachi's ghost. But like, that's it. That's all she's got, is every so often Adachi's ghost appears to her.
Huh.
On her birthday, on her 87th birthday, Yashiro knocks on the door. And that little twerp alien shows up and is like, hey, I haven't seen you in a few years. I wanted to stop by and wish you a happy birthday. She comes with the old Nintendo that her and her sister had when they were kids, and says, why don't we play video games together? So they walk into town, buy adapters to attach a Nintendo to a new TV, and then they play like an RPG together. And so Shimamura makes her one of the characters and Adachi one of the characters, and they're friends from when they were in high school together. They make this party of 4. And, you know, Adachi's ghost appears and says, and so she's like, so what kind of class do you want to be? And she's like, I want to be a healer because I want to keep you safe. And it's like, oh, my heart. She has this last conversation with Adachi because she's finished. She's like feeling kind of fulfilled and happy. And Adachi's like, I don't think I'm going to come visit you anymore. And Shimamura's like, that makes me really sad though. And she's like, yeah, I know, but I think it's time. So she goes to sleep. Like Yashiro stays with her that night. They wake up the next morning. They walk into town. As they're crossing this bridge, Yashiro stops and she says, okay, Shimamura, you got to keep walking straight. I'm going to leave. Love you. Bye. And she takes off running. And Shimamura is like, okay. And so she starts walking straight. And you realize she's dead. She's just died. And so she walks forward. She reunites with her parents and her younger sister, spends some time with them. But she's like, I haven't found her yet. I got to keep going. She sees her grandparents and the dog that they had when she was a kid, who she loved so much, and like so imprinted on this dog that later on she was like, I can't have another dog. That was the dog that I loved. I can't do this again. Spend some time with them, but it's like, it's not her. I got to find her. And finally she steps forward. She finds Adachi and they're like, now we can be together. And so they like reunite, and it's clearly in this weird liminal heavenly sort of spectral space. Sure. And they're finally able to be together again, and they get onto like a spectral boat and just like float away. And I'm just fucking sobbing over here reading this story, because I'm like, how this book series started with two delinquents who didn't want to go to school. And so they hid in the gym. It was two delinquents who were hiding in the gym because they were bored in school. And here it is, ripping my heart from my chest and stomping on it, because they were so in love with each other and they were finally reunited after all these years of being separated. And it was a gut punch, man.
I bet.
And it is just it's not at all what I expected.
Sure.
When I started this book. It's not at all what I expected by the time I got to volumes 9 or 10 even. Like, It was so overwhelming. And just really well written and poignant and just astonishing. And then book 12 comes out in October. What the fuck? You're doing another one of these? Huh. Yeah, book 12 comes out in October. What's book 12 about? Hey, what if Adachi and Shimamura never met?
Oh.
You gonna tear my heart out again?
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Sounds like it.
We'll see. We'll see in October, but man, it was super affecting. I was shocked how the swings this book took and how well it executed on those swings. So that is what I've been doing, is telling literally everyone, this book fucked me up real bad. Anyway, what you been up to?
You know, I haven't been up to a lot. I've been trying to think, and I was like, okay, yeah, I've been doing some reading, but it's all been nonfiction stuff. So I just finished a book.
What you reading nonfic style?
Well, so I just finished a book called Stick With It, a scientific method for making lasting changes in your life, or something like that. So I've been reading stuff like that. I've been reading a lot of just a lot of articles from like Readwise Reader. Here's an interesting thing. Have you played around much with Google Gemini?
No, I don't use AI tools.
Okay. So, and that's totally fair. What I have found, Google.
This is not a conversation we need to have right now, but I just don't use generative AI, but sure. Tell me about your use of Gemini.
Totally fair. What I have found Gemini very good at is I go into Gemini and I say something along the lines of, so I've read a few things about the benefits of creatine supplementation as far as mental clarity and possible risks or possible reduction in risk of things like dementia due to, improved energy stores for the white matter of the brain, things like that. Okay. So I went in and I say, hey, find me this. And then I walk away, and 20 minutes later I come back and I have like a 32-page basically research paper with all of the citations at the end and everything that summarizes this. So if I find a topic that I'm interested in, I will go in and I will do that. And I will have it do its deep research thing, and I'll get a 30+ page file at the end with that. So I've been reading a fair bit of those lately as well for any topic that I find interesting. But I haven't seen any movies since Mission Impossible that we talked about. My wife and I recently restarted a Ted Lasso season 1 rewatch just because it's been a while and I like that show, especially the first season. I think they really they had something special there. So we've been rewatching that, but nothing new. And no games really, just little, little balatro here and there, a few things to kind of pass the time. Other than I have played quite a bit of Mario Kart World on the Switch too, and agree that it continues to be a really fun game. I've been happy with that. We've been having a good time. Picked up a couple pro controllers for the Switch too, so that we can, so I can be a professional gamer, because that's how I roll.
Well, you gotta. How are you gonna lean into those drifts otherwise? Does Mario Kart even drift? I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I've played Mario Kart like twice in my life.
Mario Kart very much drifts. In fact, if you do not learn how to drift in Mario Kart, you will lose, and lose badly. Because as you drift in Mario Kart, it gives you generate boost. So as you come out of the drift, you get a speed boost, and so it's essential to being able to compete. Again, ton of fun, having a good time with that. And then really the only other thing that I would mention is a couple albums came out in the last week or two. The new album from Fallujah. Fallujah is a technical death metal band that I dig some of their stuff, because it's an interesting mix between very technical and then these really kind of ethereal, spacey moments. And so it's kind of a nice blend. And that really got me back into sort of a tech death kick. And I was listening to bands like Exocrine and a bunch of other just really technical, heavy, fast death metal stuff that's been fun. And then, are you familiar at all, or have you ever heard of the band Sigh, S-I-G-H?
I don't think so.
Okay, so Sigh is an extreme metal band from Japan. They've been around since, I think, 1989. And Sigh is one of those bands that every time they get brought up, I get intrigued. And then, you know how we talked about it took Given to the Rising for us to get into Neurosis, because at least in part, their back catalog felt like it was a lot of work to get into. I mean, here was a band with a very passionate fan base and long albums, and there's a lot of it. And so part of it was just every time I would think about getting into Neurosis, it was like, oh, but where do I start? This kind of, and so I've had the same reaction to Sigh. Well, Sigh recently re-recorded their album, Hangman's Hymn. I Saw the World's End, Hangman's Hymn. It initially came out in 2007. They re-recorded it in 2025 and released it, and it is a straight up banger. First of all,
Hymns. I was going to say Hangman's Hymn, Taylor's version, if you will.
Oh, yes, that is similar. That is sort of what it's like. First of all, the album art is beautiful. I don't know if you Google it, you will see the cover of at least the re-recorded version. It's got just great artwork that's a delight to behold. But it is this blending of kind of, again, extreme metal, black metal, a lot of black metal elements, and then these just over-the-top, ridiculous orchestral things. And when I say the word ridiculous, I mean that in the best way possible. Like a Flesh God Apocalypse kind of ridiculous, where it is kind of joyous in the extremes to which they go, and the just overabundance of things that they throw in there. So that's been a lot of fun to have a new release that was, again, kind of a new release, but still sort of one of their more classic albums. It's been a great way to get into Sigh. And so I've been listening to Sigh and started checking out their previous album that came out in 22, Shiki. And it's been a lot of fun. So it was a nice introduction to the band and a lot of fun to get into. But that's really about it for me.
I might have to check those out. That sounds good.
I would definitely check out. Start with this one. Start with this re-recorded of Hangman's Hymn and see what you think.
I'll have to check it out. It is a cool cover. I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
So Eden doesn't know really what we're doing today.
No. It's my turn to be in the dark.
Well, I'm not going to lie. Part of it is I didn't feel like making either of us do homework. It's getting to that time of the year where sometimes it can be a little busy. And I had an idea, and then at the last minute, I kind of decided to change it. So I'm going to share with you my screen.
Please.
Can you see my Safari window?
Yes.
Excellent. So this week, in anticipation of the soon-to-be-released Superman movie, a reboot, one could say, of the whole DC comic book movie universe, I thought it might be fun for us to do a DC superhero movie tier list.
Hell yeah.
Now, I initially was thinking about doing a bracket, but look, I went to the trouble to download all of these stupid movie posters, thinking I could add those into the bracket.
And you can't put this into a bracket.
I managed to find one. I think it was like Bracket Fights or something, and you can build the bracket with those, but then you can't run the bracket online, and you just download a bracket that then you can. And I was like, that's stupid. And then I thought, but a tier list. We haven't done a tier list. So
no,
we're going to do a tier list for 29 DC movies. Now, I'm going to just tell folks right up front, this does not include every DC superhero movie. There were some that, I think we know where they maybe would go, and I didn't think that it was worth litigating. At the same time, there are some in here where we probably already know where they go that I think it might be fun to have that discussion. But
but I have to know what got left off then. I'm not seeing Supergirl. So
Supergirl did not get on there. Superman's 3 and 4 did not get on there.
Okay, but Superman 3 should be on there because it's a superior ranked movie. It is a S rank movie because Richard Pryor is a national delight and he eats dog food out of a can and then he turns evil, and you've got sexy evil Superman with the maroon suit and the gray in his chest, and then Clark Kent comes out of him and gets crushed by a trash compactor and then bursts out and beats Superman up and then reabsorbs himself into good Superman and then goes to fight the computer, and then the computer turns a lady into an evil robot lady. So Superman 3 rules.
Maybe it's a good thing it's not on here, because we would have we would spend the rest of the podcast arguing about where Superman 3 should go. So maybe I was fortuitous in not putting it on here.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
And then I did not put on here Batman and Robin or Batman Forever.
Okay, so the other two S tier movies. You left off all of the good DC movies is what I'm hearing, because Batman and Robin is the best Batman movie ever made.
Wow. Those are some hot takes.
I want my bat suit to have nipples. I want weird homoerotic tension. I want Arnold Schwarzenegger doing the worst puns you've ever heard in your fucking life. I want Chris O'Donnell pulling fake things off of his lips saying, wax lips are immune to your charms. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. But it's probably good you left it off, because you could be like, are you fucking kidding, my guy?
It probably is good I left it off. I'll be honest, the main reason I left it off is because initially I was trying to get down to 16 versus 16 and 32 when I was going to do a bracket, and with some others I had in there, those were over. But you know what? We're going to go with this. This is all of the DC extended universe. And then
I'm happy for it.
And then it's a handful of extras to get us up to that 29. Now, because I can't necessarily randomize these, I'm just going to grab them. I'm going to grab one, and then we're going to go with it, and we're going to do.
Drag it up, and then we'll talk about it.
We're going to go
Before we do that, I just need to tell all the listeners, go watch Superman 3, Batman Forever, Jim Carrey, and you can tell the palpable hatred Tommy Lee Jones has for Jim Carrey in every scene of that movie.
That is true.
You can tell.
That's absolutely true.
He hates that man with his whole heart, and it's delightful. Val Kilmer is maybe the hottest Batman's ever been. I don't think he's the best Batman, but he's maybe the hottest Batman has ever been.
Okay.
So go watch Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, and Superman 3. They're all delightful. They all are S tier, but they're not on this list. So just know that, listeners.
Or maybe don't waste your time with any of those movies.
That is incorrect.
So real quick, for those who may not be familiar with tier lists, for reasons, and I'm not going to even bother going into it, the top tier is S tier. And then we've got A, B, C, D, F is what we've got in our bracket here. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and just randomly grab one. And you know what we're going to do? Because it's sitting here looking at me. We are going to grab Suicide Squad. Not the Suicide Squad.
Not the Suicide Squad. David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Here's the thing. Margot Robbie, national treasure of Australia. Is that where she's from? I think she's Australian.
Think so. Yep.
National treasure. One of the greatest actors of her generation. Movie sucks. Movie sucks donkey balls. D. Max.
Okay. I was going to say, I agree. I don't know that it necessarily has to go F tier, but I definitely agree. Cannot go any higher than D tier.
The rest of the cast is wasted. Will Smith, you're slumming it. And here's the thing. When we were kids, the whole talk about Will Smith was like, he uses the algorithms to find the most successful movies. You remember this thing about how algorithmically his team decided what the most successful movies could be? A, that clearly his algorithm out of date stopped working after about Earth AE or whatever it was called. B, what are you doing? Your Deadshot sucks so bad. Anyway, next,
we're going to go with a non-DC EU movie, and we're going to go with the Joker.
Okay. Have you seen this movie?
No, and I never will, and I never want to.
I mean, so you want to keep it low, and I love to hear that because it belongs, I'm going to say, in the D tier. It's not quite F.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Dear listener, if you are interested in the idea of Joker as a movie, may I introduce you to the 1982 classic, The King of Comedy. Marty Scorsese doing the damn thing. Robert De Niro is the lead, and it's good and doesn't suck. Unlike Joker, which is trying with its whole filmography to be the king of comedy and does not have the juice because Todd Phillips, no Marty Scorsese. Yeah. So go watch King of Comedy. That's an S tier movie. The Joker is a D.
Yep. I've heard enough about it. I've listened to a number of podcasts that talked about it, and I just thought to myself, that is not for me, and I have zero interest in it.
One thing. Is Joker 2 Folie à Deux on here?
No, I just left that off because I didn't even want to bother.
Okay. Because if it was, I would need to move this up to C, so that could be at F, and there would need to be 2 space between them. But if it's not here, we'll keep it at D.
No, I intentionally kept that one off. All right.
That one's wretched.
Okay, we're gonna go a little older here. We're popping up Batman Returns.
All right. If you tell me what you think with Batman Returns. I'm not a big Tim Burton person, so I'm going to go with whatever you decide here.
So I'm not really a big Tim Burton person, and I think that there are a few things that Batman Returns does that are interesting, maybe a little more interesting than the 1989 Batman, but I don't care for this movie. I think that I would be hard-pressed to put it any higher than a C.
I think a C is fair. I think Michelle Pfeiffer is electric,
Agreed.
And the rest of the cast is pretty boring.
Exactly.
And again, I know they're not on the list, but I prefer my Batman gayer and less gothic. So that is why I prefer Schumacher over Burton.
There you go. All right. We're going to jump back into the DCEU. We're going to go the first Wonder Woman movie.
Okay. What are you feeling on this one?
So I feel a lot of conflicted emotions about the original Wonder Woman. I think that the original Wonder Woman is 2/3 to 3/4 of a really good movie that just completely falls apart at the end, and falls apart bad enough that were I to watch it again, I would turn it off before the quote climax, because I really enjoy the first, again, most of it. But at the end, I think it just turns into a really, a lesser movie. What about you though?
My heart says a B for the exact same reason. I think that it starts really solid. We're going to ignore Gal Gadot's politics. We're not going to talk about that. It's not worth litigating right now.
All we're doing is the movie itself across the board.
But here's one thing this movie has that a lot of these movies don't have. Chris Pine.
It's true.
Who is the best of the Chris's, the king of all Chris's of that generation of Hollywood actors. He's better than Pratt by a country mile. He's better than Hemsworth. He's better than Evans. Sorry, Rock, he's better than you. Chris Pine, best Chris.
Okay.
There are some really cool things about that movie. And then, like you say, I like Etta Candy. I think she's delightful. More Etta Candy in my Wonder Woman comics, please. But it does really fall apart in the end. Also, I think that it is understandable but dumb that they situate it in World War I when it is so clearly a World War II story where the Germans are the bad guys.
Yeah.
But you can't make that case in World War I, even though that's the movie that Patty Jenkins wants to make. But you can't make it World War II because Captain America, the First Avenger, came out like 4 months ago.
Yep.
Not months ago, years. But like, you can't. So I say a B. I give it a B.
Okay, and I agree with that completely. Let's stick with the DCEU, and we're going to go with Shazam, the first one, not the sequel.
Okay. The thing about it is, again, we're going to ignore Zachary Levi as a person. Guy who literally made himself sound Jewish because he thought he could get more parts in Hollywood that way, even though he's a weird evangelical freak. C or B for me. It is a fine popcorn flick to watch with some kids. I never want to see it again.
I'm with you on C or B. I lean towards B only because I found it quite a bit more enjoyable than most of the DCEU movies that, again, I had zero desire to go back and watch.
Mark Strong's a delight as the bad guy because Mark Strong is good. Yeah. He's a good actor.
Yeah. All right, let's go back because there's a lot of Batman in here because guess what, folks?
We got to get through some of this Batman backlog, if you will.
They've made a lot of Batman movies. We're going to go with Batman Begins.
Maybe too many.
The first
Here's the thing.
Of the go ahead, please.
For me, it is the only genuinely great Batman movie Nolan made because the others are too quotidian. Here's the thing. Batman Begins, that feels like a comic book movie.
Agree.
You see the slums and that feels like shit out of a comic book. They're on that big monorail and that feels like shit out of this feels like a weird heightened reality. And then Dark Knight starts and you're like, oh, Chicago. So Batman Begins is and also it's just weird. Like it starts with him going on his mystical journey to learn Kung Fu from Ken Watanabe, who's pretending to be Ra's al Ghul, but it's really Liam Neeson who's there as his now father figure. That's so much better than anything those other two movies have. I'd give it an A probably.
Okay. I
or
would
an
agree.
S. Honestly, if you told me S, I'd say put it in S. I'm with you, but I'd give it an A probably.
All right. So here's what I think I'm going to do with this. I'm going to put it in S for now, only because I'm curious to see what else, if anything, lands in S. And depending on if anything else lands in S that is stronger, I think I would want to drop it down to an A at that point.
I think that's fair. As of right now, it's the best movie we've talked about by a literal country mile.
Agree. So just to go, we're going to, let's get the Nolan stuff out of the way.
Let's get the trilogy out of the way.
Dark Knight,
B.
Okay, I would agree with that.
Heath Ledger, great, incredible. Aaron Eckhart, very good, underrated. Everything else about the movie sucks.
Yeah.
Christian Bale's a bad Batman.
For me, it was a movie that I watched and thought that was a decent movie that I actually never ever want to watch again.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. Like we can joke, lots of people who are like not big fans of superheroes are like, every superhero movie is a fascist movie. And you're like, not all of them. Do you know what one is? The fucking Dark Knight. That is an extremely fascist film. It's not very good. I don't care for it. B is as high as I'd put it.
Okay. What about Dark Knight Rises?
A solid D.
Yeah, I agree.
Chris Nolan's worst movie.
It is one of those movies that I have not gone back to watch again. Number one, because I don't want to, but anytime I've happened to catch it when it was playing, when I was, if it's on TV or something, I will actively change the channel or walk away.
The only reason that in my heart, I'm like, maybe a C is Tom Hardy's ridiculous Bane voice. But I think it still deserves a D.
I agree as well.
You adopted the night. I was born to it. And you're like, this dude is supposed to be from Latin America.
Uh-huh. All right,
anyway,
let's go with Catwoman, Halle Berry.
I see you hovering over the F, but because I am who I am, I want to give it a C, but it doesn't deserve a C. It probably deserves an F. It's a terrible movie.
It is.
But good God, did I... But of these movies so far, of all the movies we've gone through at the tier, if you were like, pick one of these movies to watch right now, Eden, I'd say Throw Catwoman on. Let's see how bad that is again. So I feel towards it sort of the way I feel towards Madam Web, where I'm like, it's so bad, I kind of want to watch it.
So, and see, that's the thing. I'm tempted to go with D, while there's a part of me that says, no, this is an F tier movie. I agree with you in that I think it's more fun to watch than anything else we've put up on here almost so far.
I haven't seen it since like 2006, 2007. I might go download it and watch it this weekend. Like, I can't make any promises because I don't watch movies because it takes too dang long to watch a movie. Right. But like, I look at that and I'm like, I bet that's terrible. I want to watch it.
Right. What do you think? I think we should go D.
Let's go D. Let's go D.
Because again, here's what I'm thinking. As I'm listing these now, I think most, if not all of these movies, I think many comic book movies on the whole, they are, at least as most of them have been made, they are fun movies to watch. This is not, cinema. This is not art house. This is, no. So as I'm thinking about this, I'll be quite honest. I'm thinking about this in terms of how much would I want to rewatch this movie? And I think
that Catwoman needs to jump up to C then.
Okay.
Give it a C.
You know what? I'm okay with that.
C for Catwoman. Both Catwoman movies right at the C, right next to each other.
I'm okay with that. All right.
We disregard that there's a Catwoman in Dark Knight Rises. It's fine.
Yeah, no. Okay, we're going to go classic here. The oldest one on the list. Superman, the movie.
S tier.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure we weren't going to have any arguments, but hot damn.
It absolutely belongs on the S tier. Margot Kidder is the hottest woman.
And honestly, the fact that I knew it was going to go
Christopher Reeves is the hottest man.
Oh my gosh, he is. The fact that I knew it was in my heart, I knew it was going to end up there is one of the reasons why Batman Begins may drop down to A tier. But that's
fair. Superman is so good, and every other Superman movie is so much worse than it in every way. While I did jokingly say Superman 3 is S tier, in my heart it's like a C tier movie in real life. But like, none of the other Superman portrayals are worth anything compared to that first movie. It is so tight. It is so well constructed. Everybody is acting wonderfully. The score is like, Star Wars comes out and people are like, yo, John Williams. And then a year later, Superman comes out and you're like, is he the greatest to ever do it? And eventually you realize, no, he's just the best at plagiarism of any of our modern composers, because you find through his work greater works from decades, if not centuries before. We all hear the Imperial March and then go, that's Gustav Holst, motherfucker. But like, he knows how to remix it in such a way that it kills. And to this day, I hear that Superman theme and my hair on the back of my neck is standing on end 100%. Because it's the fucking Superman theme. And Christopher Reeve is here and you can see his collarbones because they didn't fuck up the suit and try to cover it up with that high collar. That's my biggest complaint with this new suit in that new Superman movie. Let me see them collarbones.
Yep.
He looks so good. It's such a good movie.
S tier. Agree. Totally. All right, let's go with one that I'm going to be honest, I have not seen. I have read this, but I've never seen it. So tell me, Eden, where do we put Watchmen?
Here's the problem. It's so faithful to the source text in all of the wrong ways possible, because you see it and you're like, oh, these are the panels from Dave Gibbons' art on the screen moving. But you missed the point so terribly. You do not understand the text you are adapting, and thus you have turned in an F-tier bomb of catastrophic proportions.
I am okay with it being an F-tier because you know who I think really, really sucks?
Zack Snyder.
Zack motherfucking Snyder.
We're going to get to one Zack Snyder movie on here that I'm going to tell you needs to go in B. Okay. And you'll be like, are you kidding me right now? But there's one B and the rest are all terrible.
All right. So let's see. Let's go. Let's get some more Batman out of the way. What about the 1989 Tim Burton Batman?
B, C, I don't care.
I think it's B. I think it's better than Batman Returns, but it doesn't rise any higher than that.
I don't like that they made the Joker the guy that killed Batman's parents. I think that is a fundamental misunderstanding of both the Joker as a character and Batman's origin. So I don't care for that. But I do care for Jack Nicholson's performance.
Yep. Agreed. All right. What about the Suicide Squad? James Gunn's turn at the helm of this motley crew. The sequel,
what I think is
not
funny
sequel.
about Suicide Squad. Every James Gunn movie, and I worry this is what's going to happen with his Superman movie because it's got too many people in it and they're mostly terrible. Mm-hmm. Every movie James Gunn makes is a Suicide Squad movie, but only one of them actually had the Suicide Squad in it. His Guardians movies are Suicide Squad movies. His Superman movie looks like a Suicide Squad movie. Taskmaster or Peacekeeper, whatever the fuck. Taskmaster is the comedy show. Peacekeeper? Peacemaker? I don't know. Whatever it's called. Fucking John Cena show, that's just some Suicide Squad shit with different people that are not in the Suicide Squad. See.
Okay. That's kind of where I was leaning,
fine.
but I haven't seen it because it just didn't sound that interesting. All right, let's finish
Starro
off.
is there. It's fun to see Starro.
Let's finish off our Harley Quinn trifecta with Birds of Prey, the Fantabulous Emancipation of whatever the rest of that's called. I got to admit, I haven't seen this one.
I have, and it's a C.
Okay.
I wanted to like it more than I did because it's got a good cast. I like a lot of those characters in other circumstances. I think Renee Montoya is a fucking killer. I really like Huntress. I really like Black Canary. I really like Cassandra Cain. She's my favorite Batgirl. And none of them were really done that well in that movie. I will say I really like Ewan McGregor as the Black Mask, the evil gangster. I think he kills it, but that's because it's Ewan McGregor and he's usually pretty good.
Yep.
But it's like a C-tier film, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. What about, this might be fun, the Lego Batman movie. I put this in here just because I think it's a freaking fun movie.
Then I'm going to go with whatever you say because I admit I have not seen it.
I think it's A tier. I mean, Will Arnett voicing Batman does a great job. It is lovely in how self-aware it is. Does not take itself too seriously. I think it's a heck of a fun movie.
Okay. Yeah, I have not seen it. The first Lego movie came out, and when I was watching it in the theater, I was like, this is pretty good. And then I thought about it for 2 minutes after the movie, and I was like, no, this is an ontologically evil film. And so I've not seen any other Lego movies.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, let's go. We're going to get our last solo Batman movie here with The Batman. And as you know, and as anybody who's listened knows, this is too long of a movie for me to watch, so I haven't seen it. So it's wherever you think it goes.
This is an A tier, baby.
Okay.
It is often unintentionally campy, but it is campy to a degree that it hits some of the things that I love about the 66 show and the Schumacher films, while also having Robert Pattinson being the wettest, saddest boy with the most emo black on his eyes and hair hanging down in his face. And you're just like, yeah, man, I listen to Nirvana too, buddy. It's a cool movie. It's overly long. There's an entire final act that did not need to be in the movie, and I think the movie would have been stronger if they had cut the entire last act of it, because that's part of what makes it a 3-hour slog. But I enjoy a lot about that movie, and I am looking forward to the follow-up.
Okay. All right. Let's go with, you know what? Let's just get Zack Snyder over and done with. And
that's not Zack Snyder.
Pseudo.
You are hovering over Joss Whedon's Justice League. I was going to say pseudo
Zack Snyder. So we're going to hit out the 1-2. You're right. Yes.
F.
Joss Whedon's Justice League. F. I am okay with that. What about Zack Snyder's version?
B.
Really? That much better?
It's the only good Zack Snyder DC movie because it's so self-indulgent and over the top, and it's so absurd. It's 4.5 hours long. You have to break it up into multiple days. It's in a 4:3 aspect ratio, so you're not even using like half of your screen. It's absurd, and the fact that it exists at all has done genuine psychic damage to fandom as a whole, because now any Tom, Dick, and Harry thinks if they're loud and screech enough, they can get whatever property they want to be resurrected from the dead like a shambolic corpse, which is what Zack Snyder's Justice League is. But if you break that up over a few days, you're like, yeah, it's a pretty okay time. That's a B-tier movie.
Okay.
I like that as much as I like Wonder Woman.
And then let's talk about the Joss Whedon Justice League. I wholeheartedly agree, F tier. But tell me why. Tell me why F automatically.
Here's the thing. I don't think Joss Whedon is a good writer anymore. I used to. Many of us had our phases where we were like, Buffy's so good. Firefly's my favorite TV show. I wish they didn't cancel it. And then, to paraphrase the Apostle Paul, when I was a child, I liked Joss Whedon shows. And then when I grew up, I realized they fucking suck. And unfortunately, that remains a little bit true of his Avengers films. I still think the first Avengers has a lot to recommend it, but it is messy and too quippy by half. And in it, I find the seeds of the MCU's current mid to badness. And guess what? He turned that to 11 on the corpse of Zack Snyder's poor dead daughter.
Okay. Yeah. Nope. Totally fair.
It's terrible.
Totally
it's a terrible
fair.
film.
I agree. All right. What about Wonder Woman 84?
Here's the thing about Wonder Woman 84. Pedro Pascal, a delight.
Agree.
Everything else about the film, atrocious. D or F max.
I would say D, only on the strength of Pedro Pascal.
He's very good in that film. He plays a great Maxwell Lord.
There are so many problems with with that movie that are just, yeah.
It's just unconscionable how bad they did after a first pretty good movie.
Yep. All right, let's get some Superman out of the way. Let's go Superman number 2, Superman 2. Now, I did not do the Richard Donner cut because I still have never seen it. It doesn't make that big of a difference.
Here's the thing. Everyone says the Donner cut makes it better. No, it doesn't. The Donner cut sets up Superman Returns, which is a bad movie. Superman 2 is fine. B or a C.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards C, actually, a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I liked it a lot when I was younger, but as I have gotten older, I'm like, doesn't hold up nearly as well.
Well, and see, here's the thing about the Donner cut and why you can go ahead and ignore it. Hey, do you remember how he saved the world in Superman when he turned the world backwards?
Uh-huh.
What if they do that again in Superman 2 instead of the denouement that you get in the theatrical cut? What if he just does the same thing, but this time it makes Lois forget that he's Superman? It's stupid. It's stupid and it's bad. And I think Superman 2 is mid. I would rather watch Superman 3 any day.
You said there was another bad movie, and that's going to be Superman Returns.
Superman Returns is a D.
I agree.
It's not F tier. But it is one of Bryan Singer's worst movies, and he's made some real stinkers.
And, I just found it boring. Like,
it's very slow. It's very ponderous. Brandon Routh was really done dirty because I think he's really well cast, and I think he's a fine actor.
Yeah.
I've liked almost everything else he's been in. I watched that Crisis on Infinite Earths that they did in the CW show, even though I had long fallen off the CW shows. He's a great old man Superman. Like, I think Brandon Routh's got it, and it kind of blows my mind he never became a big star. But I think a lot of that can be laid on Bryan Singer's feet because Superman Returns is so bad.
Yep. All right. What about Man of Steel?
Also D.
Which hurts me. It makes me sad, and I cannot argue against it. But I mean, and maybe we've talked about this on the pod. I can't remember. Superman was my hero when I was really little. My grandma made me Superman cape. I wore it all the time. I had Superman pajamas. I loved the original Superman. It's why I love Superman 2. It's why as a kid, I think I loved Superman 3. And I was excited for the idea of a modern Superman movie. And again, I think similar to Superman Returns, I think Henry Cavill, like, he's got the stuff to be an excellent
he's
Superman.
Fine casting.
And it's a bad movie at the end of it. It just is.
It's just a bad movie.
It's just a bad movie.
They lean so hard into the Christian iconography of that movie.
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm just thinking to myself, he's Moses. He's not Jesus. He's always been Moses. It was two Jewish dudes who invented him, and they put him in an ark and put him in the river. This is fucking Moses, guys. Why are you making him so Jesus-y?
Yep.
It's bad.
It is bad. All right, we're in the home stretch. These are all DCEU movies now. Let's go with Aquaman.
And a bunch of stinkers. I've never seen the Aquaman movies, so anywhere you want to put them, if you've seen them, great. And if otherwise, give them Fs because we ain't seen them. They're so bad we never watched them.
So I'm putting Aquaman the first in D just because Aquaman and the Lost whatever bullshit goes in F because it was so uninspiring that I couldn't even be bothered to watch the second one.
Here's the thing that hurts. I like Justin Lin's movies most of the time. He made the best of the new Trek movies. Star Trek Beyond is better than the Abrams movies by a large margin.
Yeah, 100%.
His Fast and the Furious movies are some of my favorite. Fast 5, Fast 7, Furious 7, let's fucking go. But I don't care about Aquaman. I don't think he's an interesting character, and I didn't hear anything that made me change my mind on that.
Yep. Nope, you are correct. All right. How about The Flash? Did you ever see The Flash?
It's so bad that it's kind of fun to watch.
Okay.
Not unlike Catwoman, where it is so outrageously bad. I don't care where you put it because it doesn't matter, but it's not good, but probably a C.
You said like Catwoman. Let's give it a C there.
Here's the thing. Have you seen the scene where he's picking the babies up out of the sky as the building explodes and he puts one of the babies into a microwave to take it back down? Yeah. So it looks like he's cooking the baby. That's delightful. I love it. I love that he cooked the baby.
Totally. Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
I never saw this.
I didn't either.
Why would I care about a second Shazam movie?
Exactly. Are we thinking D just out of boredom?
Yeah, probably. Lucy Liu couldn't get my butt in the seat for that movie, and that speaks volume to me. Yep. Because Lucy Liu is one of the greats, but I couldn't care less.
All right. Blue Beetle. Did you ever see this one?
No. I have a friend who said it's very good, but Blue Beetle is their favorite superhero, so they said Blue Beetle was very good. I bet that they would want us to give it at least a C. So give it a C because neither of us have seen it, but it's supposed to be a feel-good family movie.
And so
that's probably C shit.
Again, here's my thought. I look at it and I say, would I rather watch Blue Beetle, which I haven't seen, over Shazam that I haven't seen, or Aquaman that I haven't seen? Hell yeah, I would.
I'd pick Blue Beetle over either of those movies for sure.
Yeah.
I'd pick Blue Beetle over the next movie you're going to grab, which is
Batman v
I
Superman.
Definitely pick it over that one.
Dawn of Justice.
Dawn of Justice, D. D.
I agree. And now we've got one more movie here, and I'm going to do a little something for funsies.
Astute listeners know what it is. We know what this needs to be called. The power hierarchy of the DC universe has changed.
I'm adding a row, and I am calling it Fuck You Forever. And Black Adam goes in the Fuck You Forever category at the bottom below the F tier, because this is a movie that's so bad that I have refused to watch anything The Rock has been in since then. I unfollowed him from all social medias. I hate him. I hate him. And I hate this movie, and I hate the people who made it.
Dear listeners, this is not a video podcast, so you don't know I have been saluting in brave silence ever since Peter dragged it up into the Fuck You Forever box. Salute to you, The Rock. Salute to you, ruining your career. I will also probably not watch your movies ever again. That movie was so bad. It's baffling. It's baffling how bad it is.
It is.
It's truly in a league of its own.
I have to create sort of the scenario here. So it is me, it is my, at the time, 18-year-old son, and my, at the time, probably 14-year-old son. And it's a weekend, and the 18-year-old has not left to go on his mission, and he has wisely broken up with a girl who, bless her heart, was kind of crazy. So we were proud of him for making that decision. And he's sitting at home alone, and we're home alone on a Friday night. And he says, Dad, can we have a movie night? And I said, sure. I go, what do you want to watch? He goes, can we rent Black Adam? Because it had just come out in theaters. And so I pop open the Apple TV and I search for Black Adam. And there it is. It's only been out a week or two. So it's $14.99 to rent. It's $19.99 to buy. And I think to myself, I'm sure we'll want to watch this movie at least twice.
You bought it.
So I paid $19.99. Now, 12 minutes into this shit show, my 18-year-old, who, bless his heart, is not what I would call a discerning movie viewer, pauses the movie, turns to me and says, Dad, we've made a huge mistake. in paying those extra $5, haven't we? And I looked at him and I said, I'm afraid we have, son. I'm afraid we have.
That's when you say, I'm deducting this from your allowance. This is on you. You are paying for this, right? Not me.
We make it to the end of the movie, and then we turn it off. And me, far from a cinephile, again, as we've said, I watch movies mostly just to be entertained. And my 18-year-old son and my 14-year-old son spend the next 20 minutes talking about all of the bad things in this movie and how wrong they got it and how stupid it was, until finally we look at each other and we all say, I'm just getting more angry. We need to stop talking about this movie.
Hell yeah.
Black Adam.
Yeah, what a bad movie.
Is awful. Now, you all heard, anybody who's been listening, you all heard my personal rant about Madam Web. If Black Adam is a fuck you forever, Madam Web is like a B or an A.
Oh, yeah. No, Madam Web is fine cinema in comparison to Black Adam.
Agree, and that's the thing. I hated Madam Web, but I would watch Madam Web a dozen times before I would watch Black Adam again. I hate this movie.
I hate
this
so
movie.
bad.
All right.
So comically bad.
So I think the only question we need to litigate is, does Batman Begin hang in the S tier with Superman the movie? And my inclination is to say, I think it doesn't hang.
I don't think it does either. I think that there is one S tier DC movie besides my love for the campy ones, which I would in my heart put on the S tier. But objectively, there's one S tier DC movie, and it is 1978's Superman the movie.
I agree. There
is a reason no one's done it better since. And I don't think James Gunn's got it in him. I couldn't even think of his name. Gunn has made some entertaining movies that I've liked. He's made some movies I haven't cared for very much. He's never made anything half as good as Superman. Well, here's the thing. Richard Donner, that man is a goddamn director. James Gunn's just a guy.
Yeah. Here's my thing. And it gets to when the trailer for the new Superman movie came out. We briefly talked about it, and I kind of said, I was interested, and then it got too busy. There was too much in it. One of the reasons Superman, the movie, is such a good movie and such a delight to watch is because we just get to spend time with Clark Kent / Superman and Lois Lane and our, Gene Hackman just chewing up the scenery as Lex Luthor. And it's a small cast of characters, and you get to spend enough time with them that you give a shit about them. When Lois Lane falls, her car gets swallowed into the earth and dirt is pouring in on her. You are affected. You are like, no, not Lois Lane. And I just don't think that this overstuffed CGI fest that it looks like we may be getting, I just don't have any confidence. Now, I'll probably go and see it because it turns out my wife...
I'm going to go see it.
Well, the only reason I'm going is I told my wife, who is a Rachel Brosnahan fan, I said, I will absolutely go see it with you. But I'm not looking forward to it.
I'm going to go see it because morbid curiosity. But here's the thing. Richard Donner could have made the Guardians movies. James Gunn couldn't make Lady Hawk. He ain't got the juice like that. He couldn't have made 4 Lethal Weapon movies. Yep. He couldn't have made Maverick. Fuck Mel Gibson. But he couldn't have made Maverick.
Yep. 'Tis true.
Here's the thing. I'm looking at Richard Donner's filmography, and I'm like, this guy's made some good fucking movies. Goonies, not good. Lady Hawk, that's a movie.
Lady Hawk is a banger of a movie.
I was listening to a podcast the other day where they watched Lady Hawk, and they were like, this movie's fine. Rutger Hauer, Michelle Pfeiffer, they're fine. Matthew Broderick is annoying. This soundtrack sucks. And I wanted to throw my phone into a river because I was like, what are you talking about?
Everything they said was wrong.
Talking about? The movie is incredible and the soundtrack is part of that. Agreed. You need that wonderful Vangelis bullshit.
Yes, you do. Well,
and they were like, that's the worst part of the movie. And I was like, you guys are so wrong.
I mean, instantly nullified their opinion is. But, well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. We've gone a little long, but I thought that this would be fun for us to, like I say, to kind of go over and see.
This was delightful.
You know, we've done a Marvel bracket and ended up with Thor Ragnarok at the top of that. I thought it would be fun to just try the tier list ranking. And I look at this and I go, I think we nailed this. And
here's the other thing. You say Thor Ragnarok was our favorite of the Marvel movies, and then I look at this and I'm like, man, the MCU's cooked. They ain't got nothing like Superman the movie.
It's true.
Thor Ragnarok does not have the juice like Superman the movie does. Damn it.
Yeah, I mean, Superman the movie is a classic, so. All right, well, we will wrap it up here. We'll be back in another couple of weeks, and if you've got any comments, if you want to tell us how right we were in all the different ways, please feel free to reach out at feedback@themiddleofculture.com, and if you want to tell us ways we were wrong, you're welcome to do that, and we just might laugh at you, but we'll laugh respectfully.
True. We'll be
Until
back.
Next time.
See you then.
Bye.